the Galway team today, Michael Coleman. It's going to be a big day for him. A young man coming into the Tip team, John Lahey. Now, both of these players will find the pressure particularly hard today, perhaps.
They certainly will. In my view, the Galway decision is a surprising one. If Noel Lane was fit, but that's their business and they surely know what they're doing. But it's still a very big decision for them to bring in a lad in his first really big time and bring him into a senior final. The young Leahy has come on for Tipperary in each championship match, so that's not that new to him, even though today is a final. But people like those have a habit of coming good on the day.
I suppose we should say a word about Pat O'Neill, who would have captained Tipperary here today had the selectors chosen him, and I'm sure he must be one of the most disappointed men in some ways going into today's
Well, he has
game.
to be, and it would be foolish to say otherwise. Yes. It's a very disappointing decision. Again, Tipperary, that's their business. They must know what they're doing, but generally speaking, it's a thing I wouldn't like to see happening.
Well, Joe, the talk down around Galway is that this game won't go on too long before we actually see Noel Lane out in the field.
Well, I don't think the options forwards-wise for the Galway selectors would have been great without Noel. There's other good young lads there, but they're not ready, I don't think, for senior championship hurling yet. Now, maybe they're thinking there's 8 positions now that they're covered by Noel Lane, because a midfielder is struggling, about 3 or 4 forwards can go out, and it's a very good sub in Noel Lane ready to come in. So, but whether he'll come in, it'll be dependent on one of the forwards not playing well, or midfielders, so hopefully I suppose he won't be coming in.
I was talking to Johnny about the pressure on Michael Coleman, and perhaps we should mention the pressure on Pat Malone too, because he is not that experienced. I know he played in last year's final, but he's not a very experienced midfielder either, and these two lads playing together, it's a new combination in Galway's midfield. Are you worried about that?
Well, it's a very difficult test for Pat Malone, because he'd be the likes of fella now that to feed off the fella like Steve Mahan, he'd do a great job like he did in Leicester's final. But to be the senior member of the midfield as he is very difficult. But he is a good striker, he's a good level-headed temperament sort of fella, very determined. So I'd hope that he would produce the goods, but it is a tough test for him.
Johnny, last year we sat here before the Galway-Kilkenny match. We look forward to a great game between two fine sides. It turned out to be a very rough, a very dogged and a very controversial match. Everybody is saying this is going to be a great game of hurling. What are your feelings about how the actual pattern of the game will be? Will it be an open game? Can they afford to play that kind of a game?
Well, I think certainly Galway, that's the only game they know, and they're very, very good at it. Tipperary, I think, are much the same. They have a lot of young players, good hurlers. I don't think that if they try and tie the game up that they will succeed. I'm sure that they'll try and play a ground game. I'm sure they will try and move the ball as often as possible and as quickly as possible. Obviously to try and get into Nicky English and Pat Fox inside as quickly as they can. And if they do that, they have a chance, a good chance.
Well, Johnny, something like a half an hour to go now before the throw-in, and as we've said a little bit earlier, the crowd are getting tense and anxious, just as I'm sure the players are in the dressing room. Jimmy McGee is down amongst them at the moment. He's also been soaking up the atmosphere leading up to this big game. Let's go down to Jimmy right now.
Yeah, just behind me here are the two dressing rooms. Galway in the same dressing room they occupied last year, and you know what happened then, and Tipperary in the other one. Interesting to call in, as I have been in the last few minutes, just to see the reactions of the different players to the occasion. There are the nervous ones who are walking around, going to the toilet, back to the toilet again. There are the others who try to be funny, like Bobby Ryan, who tries to be the light-hearted one of the Tipperary team. The very nervous John Kennedy and Joe Hayes. Over in the Galway dressing room, Ollie Kilkenny, he's probably the most nervous one. Sylvie, well, Sylvie's just Sylvie, laid back there. Everybody, though, is in good fettle. There's no doubt about that. Last night, Galway had a relatively easy night, a late meal and then to bed. But you know what Tipperary did? They got a few videotapes of old John Clee's faulty towers, and they put them all together and looked at them. And apparently they enjoyed them no end and laughed their heads off. Yes, it's a very laid-back Tipperary team. You could say the same for Galway, but isn't it most unusual that Galway are less success-starved than Tipperary? Hard to believe that a county with the tradition of the blue and gold are 17 years waiting for this special occasion. Well, I've left them. John Commons has got a ball, he's playing, tapping around. Nick English, even in the dressing room, displaying those special skills of his. They're nearly ready to emerge onto the green sward of Croke Park. And the last message from Galway was, we're going to retain it. but the very last one from Tipperary. In this marvellous atmosphere here at Croke Park, let's face it, hurling men are a special breed. They love to see their own teams win, but they're quite happy to see any team play good hurling. The last message came from Tipperary, from their officials, from the players who don't even remember the last All-Ireland win, saying, we have to do it for the people of Tipperary. Well, only 70 minutes of hurling will decide if they can or not. But the atmosphere is super. I wouldn't miss it for anything.
Well, Jimmy McGee, you may say that Tipperary are very laid back, but if you're standing there in 10 minutes' time when they come out of that dressing room, you're in trouble. But now, always, of course, such an integral part of the big day here in Croke Park, All-Ireland finals and semi-finals and Leinster finals, so forth, is the Artane Boys Band, who have so well entertained the crowd here on these big occasions. Let us listen to them now for a few moments.